Welcome back to the Party Package. My name is Owen and welcome back to the show. Today we are talking about one of the few teams I actually own a shirt for, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Broad Street Bullies as they used to be called. And this is a team that I've always had the conception that they were a good team until recently, and I think they have finally fallen off, and I think this is going to be the year that the Flyers, well, they kind of showed it last year, but I think this is going to be finally the year that the Flyers continue the trend of they go terrible one year, playoffs next year. Terrible, good, terrible, good. That's been the pattern over the last few seasons. And then before that, they were actually steadily pretty okay, I think. But recently, they've kind of fallen off, and I think this is going to finally be the year that they stay down. They're like in wrestling, where the guy's like, just stay down! And they keep kicking him, and he keeps trying to get back up, but then he kicks him down again. That's what I think is going to finally happen this year, or will it? And I've got a reason why it might not happen. But first, the good before the bad. I have nothing really good to say about this team. Now, I know. I like most teams. I actually like the Flyers. They're one of the few teams I actually own a shirt for, and it doesn't pain me to say it, but the honest truth is that I don't see any pros about this team. Like looking at offense, defense, I guess goaltending, you could have Hart step up. On defense, you could say Provorov, D'Angelo, Sanheim, Ristolainen, and Cam York, and Braun. That could be a pretty solid defense. I will give you that. But just looking at, like, Ristolainen always being a negative player, even though he's a defenseman, there's a lot of, not a lot of questions, but just, I would say their defense is their best overall trait. Carter Hart could be Katahat. It could be if he was consistently pretty good, but he's not consistently pretty good. But if he did, then that would be a plus. But offense is where things are supposed to shine the most. Offense should be the number one thing, where at least your top couple lines, and then you work on defense and goaltending, and then you fill out the rest of your offense. The thing about the Philadelphia Flyers is that their offense is pretty bad, and I feel like it's our memories and our thoughts are clouded by name recognition. We all know James Van Riemsdyk. We all know by this point Sean Couturier was better than Claude Giroux, and Claude Giroux's now gone. We all know the year Travis Konechny had. We all know Kevin Hayes signed there for a super bunch of money. Everyone made fun of it, and then he played pretty good. We all know these names. But let's take a look at the numbers. So over here, look at this. James Van Riemsdyk, 38 points. Not very good, in my opinion. My top line needs to have better than 38 points. Couturier was injured. However, 17 points in, I believe it was 40 games, is not very good either. If you project that out, he only gets to he'd get a couple more points than he probably wouldn't. So let's just say 40. We round it up to 40. That's not very good either. Cam Atkinson with 50 points. It's okay, but not for your top line. That would be okay if it's not good enough. That is not good enough. Second line, Konechny, 52 points. I don't write these lines in my own opinion. Sometimes I change it. I just go off of what Cap Friendly says, just to get something on the board. Konechny, 52 points. Not bad. Once again, not bad. All these players are not bad. It's just they're not good enough to make a team, which we all know. If you are not like me and you don't like the Flyers and you aren't optimistic about them, you know how bad they are. But for me, I would like them to be good because I like them better than a team like the Penguins. I would like this team to be good, but they're just not. To put in perspective for you how bad they were, I don't know how often this number is known by fans, but the Philadelphia Flyers last season were second to last in goals for. The only team worst at scoring goals was the Phoenix, Arizona Coyotes. That is not good For any team, they were a negative 87 in goal differential, and I think they were either 5th or 6th to last, or 5th or 6th worst, however you want to put it, in goals against, with teams like the Blackhawks and the Canadiens and the Coyotes above them. They are in the worst territory possible, and unfortunately as well, in the draft this year, they were right outside the top 3 of the draft, which means they didn't get that top. They didn't get to pick up a Logan Cooley, a Uri Slafkovsky, or a Shane Wright. They had to pick outside of that, or even the top defenseman Nemes, or however you say his name. The Flyers are in some trouble. Now, they added this offseason Tony DeAngelo, which I think is, depending on regardless how you look at it, 51 points, not bad for a defenseman, and watching his play in the playoffs is amazing. However, probably not the team he'd like to go to, because he's not going to be able to show that off really that much. And also, before I get to the big point that I want to make, you also got Joel Farabee, or Farabee, or however you say his name. I'm assuming he's French-Canadian. That guy, I think is a pretty good player. You got 36 points last season. I think it's 36, something around there. And that's pretty good, but not good enough to push over this team. Also, Ryan Ellis, 5 points in 4 games played last season. I mean, technically speaking, that's pretty good. He was more than a point per game, but he also was gone the whole season. So that doesn't really count. So if you add those guys in the lineup, I would say defense is pretty solid. Offense is pretty bad. I mean, just looking at their offense, it's the name recognition. It's the Flyers' name. There's so much history behind the Philadelphia Flyers, and there's so much the name value here. And it's a bunch of washed-up pirates, I feel like. You're like, you know of these guys. You hear about them. And so at least for me, my brain is making me think that this team is better than it actually is. On paper, it's 4th to worst in the whole NHL. But what could fix this team? And I think they might have added the literal perfect thing that this team needs to get over what they've gone through. And that is Mr. John Tortorella himself. I love John Tortorella. I love Torts. I think he's a great coach. And I think that this team could go really well with John Tortorella's system. If John Tortorella goes in that Broad Street Bullies locker room, and he goes in there and he screams the heads off of these guys, and he makes them scared of him, and they're scared to play. You have to play to earn a spot on a John Tortorella team. And I think that this team here could be whipped right into shape by John Tortorella. If you don't think, and then I'd love to see maybe John Tortorella and Tony DeAngelo talk, because that would be amazing. But I think he might be exactly what he needs to whip this offense not so good unit and make them not skilled. He doesn't make his team skilled. He makes his team work together and win. His teams that he coaches aren't the best teams skill-wise, but they work and win the games together as a unit. This isn't a team. Connor McDavid would not be the type of player that needs John Tortorella on it. This is the exact type of team that John Tortorella needs. A team that has enough skill to play games and needs that work together unit. And they have defense to back it up, and they have a goaltender that could be good enough to back it up. All they need is that offense to actually whip into gear. But I guess at the same time I say that, and the same exact team basically, other than Tony DeAngelo, got scored on the 6th most times and scored the 2nd to least amount of goals. So I guess it kind of depends on where this team goes. Personally, for me, I think they're going to suck again. I think it'll be fun to see John Tortorella on this team and probably get really mad at things again. And it'll be nice to see that happen and things seem back to normal. But other than that, does this team make it to the playoffs? No way, no how. Do they make it next season? I think this is going to be one of the teams that we know so well, because for all of my life, the Flyers have been pretty good up to this point, so it's going to be really weird for them, the Blackhawks. The Kings kind of got over it, but it'll be weird for this team to be, I think this is going to be a dark period for them a long time, because like people like Nolan Patrick didn't pan out. Provorov is a pretty good defenseman, but not like world-changing. So it's kind of unfortunate for them. But maybe this year maybe they get Connor Bedard or something. Maybe that's what they need. Maybe, this is what happens when you pick up defensemen like Ristolainen to make your team better. So I guess that's really all I have to say about the Philadelphia Flyers. They're a team in shambles and probably going to be for a while. So I guess until next time, please pick up your free subscription down below by hitting that red subscribe button, the one that's rojo and says subscribe. It's in a rectangle. Make sure you pick up the bell that pops up next to it that give you information of when my videos come out. Make sure you leave a like, not a dislike. You can go down below to the comment section and tell me any suggestions, reviews, feedback, or other types of tangents, comments, concerns, suggestions, reviews, or whatever the hell else I usually say. And tell me, do you think the Flyers are as bad, or do they make that bounce back and squeeze into a playoff spot? I don't think they will, but until next time, I have been Owen, the party, money, dog, whatever you want. And until next time, too sweet, and ta-ta for now.